Welcome into another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today I have my 5 takeaway series covering 5 Dynasty topics. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So, the first one, Drake London is a budding superstar. I mean, everything we're hearing about Drake London is that he's the centerpiece of the Falcons' passing offense. We've all heard, maybe you haven't heard, the quote Michael Penix said London will not be underappreciated with him as the quarterback, meaning that he will have nationwide, full recognition after this year. And I do believe him. I mean, last year, London was great. 100 catches, 1,271 yards, 9 touchdowns, 158 targets, 5.9 catches, and 74.8 yards a game. Really good. 16.5 fantasy points a game, 14th among wide receivers. That's a strong number. But when Penix came in, London became the clear number one by a lot. 7.3 catches, 117.3 yards, 13 targets a game in the 3 games with Penix. Obviously, that's not going to happen. That's like a 2,200-yard pace. But he was better with Penix. We hear Penix talking about London all the time. And the Falcons did nothing to add to last year's offense. Literally nothing. They still have Darnell Mooney. He's a compliment. And Kyle Pitts, for them, is circling the drain. I mean, he's bad. So, we love London. Now, what am I doing about this constant drumbeat for Drake London? It actually has nothing to do with Drake London. I think it's too late. I said to buy Drake London in April. I said to buy Drake London in February. I've been talking about buying Drake London for a long time on the Patreon. I think now it might be too late. I think a lot of people are talking about Drake London as potential top 5 redraft wide receiver. I think it's too late. But Darnell Mooney is still an opportunity. He's a clear wide receiver 2 in this offense. He's gotten a lot of praise from the coaching staff as well. He had almost 1,000 yards last year despite missing a game. This coaching staff despises Kyle Pitts. So there's no competition for the second target role. Last year, remember, in 2024, we thought Kyle Pitts was going to be the second target. I have a soft spot for Darnell Mooney. The stash video in late 2023 where I talked about Darnell Mooney was one of the videos that launched this channel into popularity. Obviously, that was a very, very good call at the time. And there's room for Mooney to produce with Drake London as the top target. Penix is not a big runner, so that helps the receiving weapons in the passing game that scrambles are not going to take away from potential targets. But overall, Drake London's a superstar. Darnell Mooney could be a cheap, forgotten about buy for Dynasty contenders. Now, my second topic, Deebo Samuel. So you're noticing all of these topics are kind of relevant to something that someone said or happened during the training camps. We all saw, or mini camps, mandatory mini camp. We all saw the video of Deebo Samuel and all of the fat Deebo jokes and all that. I mean, sure, he could lose a few pounds. I think that might help him. And those videos are not helping. But I don't see Deebo Samuel as a player I want to buy in on anyway, right? I mean, let's look at what he did last year. In 15 games, 51 catches, 670 yards, 3 touchdowns, 81 targets, 3.4 catches and 44.7 yards a game, 42 carries, 136 yards and touchdown. It was not all there. He fell apart as a rusher, was way behind Juwan Jennings and George Kittle in the pecking order. And some people will blame it on the pneumonia, but he wasn't good before that. That's the thing. It's not like he was tearing it up early in the season. Ricky Pearsall surpassed him at the end. It's the kind of thing where, in general, sometimes you're wrong, but most of the time, he was 28 last year, now he's 29. When a 28-year-old player shows you they're in decline, are dumped by their old team, and the 49ers dumped him for a 5th-round pick and get a big return. They're now 29 years old. You probably should believe them. They're probably in decline. And the odds are that Deebo is done. And what I saw at training camp, what we saw, didn't exactly excite me. I was not excited by that. So I was already out. Now I'm just even more out. If that was possible. I don't know if it's more possible for me to be more out on Deebo Samuel than I already was. Now, what do we do? There's nothing you can do with Deebo Samuel. It's way too late to sell him. I've been saying sell forever. If you still have him, that's on you. I'd be fine selling low on him, but I certainly don't want him. He's on a 1-year deal. Terry McLaurin's waiting for a new deal. I think they get that deal done. They need Terry McLaurin to compete this year, so that will happen. But I'm interested in their lower receiving options. I'm keeping an eye on stashes, Luke McCaffrey and Jalen Lane, especially with Noah Brown's recent injury. I have not been able to find anything on that injury. It said he left practice in MRI and then crickets. That's not a great sign. But I was reading an article earlier today saying that Luke McCaffrey was impressing the coaching staff. There was some buzz about Jalen Lane, their 4th-round pick this year. There are worse shots to take. I mean, the Jaden Daniels offense is an offense we want pieces of. There will be opportunities for deeper players to emerge if they have the talent. So we'll have to see. I'm just saying these are names keep in the back of your mind as we go through the offseason, as we head toward the NFL season, just to keep in mind. Now, the next topic, Tucker Kraft could take a step forward in 2025. So of all the players at Packers minicamp, Tucker Kraft is getting by far the most positive reception. You know who I didn't see at Packers minicamp? I didn't see Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed was not there. He was dealing with some sort of injury. That could have been not so ideal. But Kraft last year, 17 games, 50 catches, 770 yards, 7 touchdowns, 70 targets, 2.9 catches, and 41.6 yards a game. Now, Kraft was an every down player. He finished behind Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, and Romeo Doubs in targets, but Kraft was one of the centerpieces of the offense. He was more efficient per target than either Wicks or Doubs. Wicks was awful. And we know that Kraft is a very good real-life tight end. I mean, Kraft to me is a very clear top 10 real-life NFL tight end already. Let's see if he can develop. Now, speaking of development, Kraft turns 25 in November, common breakout for high-end tight end. So tight end is not like other positions. You have your Brock Bowers. That's ruined it for everyone. Now everyone is going to say, well, if he didn't break out as a rookie, it's never going to happen. Well, it didn't happen for Trey McBride. It, didn't happen for a lot of guys. I mean, Dave Njoku was like 3 coaching staffs and 4 years later. It happens all the time. Tight ends just take a while to adjust to the NFL. But to be honest with you, Tucker Kraft has not taken a while to adjust to the NFL. He became the starter late in his rookie year from Luke Musgrave and has played 85 to 90% snap shares in every game since then that he's been healthy. So he didn't actually take a long time to adjust. He's been good from the beginning. The problem is that he needs more usage as a receiver. The Packers coaching staff consistently discusses Kraft as a centerpiece of the offense. If you go and read what Matt LaFleur and Adam Stenovich, their OC, are saying about the offense, Tucker Kraft is consistently mentioned as a centerpiece. Now, it's tough for a tight end to break out when there are all of these wide receivers. However, I find drafting or buying Kraft as current cost. Drafting, I think, is actually more likely than buying. He's probably not a league-winning tight end. I mean, he could be. He could be. He's young enough that he could still emerge. I don't want to overpay, but I will say he's the only player on the Packers offense, receiver offense, not running backs, that I'm confident will be out there on 85 to 90% of the snaps. Like, he will be out there if he is healthy on 85 to 90% of the snaps. You cannot say that about Jaden Reed or Matthew Golden or Romeo Doubs. You cannot say that about those players, but you can say it about Tucker Kraft. So I am interested in taking a shot if the price is right. And this is the type of player who has been really good for real life, a little short as a receiver for fantasy, who could break out if given more opportunity in year 3. If you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using the code TylerYT50. You can get my Dynasty and rookie rankings, access to the Discord, my write-ups. I'm doing a write-up on every NFL team, Patreon-only videos. There'll be one on Wednesday. And all of my Patreon roster breakdowns. The whole library is available. Direct message fantasy advice. That's what it sounds like. Messaging about your team in direct messages. and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos, the regular videos, which you'll see at the end of this video. All of those questions are from patrons. Tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with a discount. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon videos on the channel. As always, I'll say something about the Patreon. I will say there will be additional content on the Patreon. Basically, there will never be more content on the YouTube. There will not be redraft content on the YouTube. There will not be start sit content on the YouTube. There will not be dynasty strategy content on the YouTube. I found a very specific niche that works, succeeds for my YouTube videos, my buys, my sells, my stashes, and then these kind of takeaway videos, the one we're doing now, general takeaways about dynasty. That is what will be on the YouTube. If you want anything else, it'll all be on the Patreon. That is where it will be. I'm not going to do additional YouTube content. So those are the things that will be on the YouTube. That's it. And then the Patreon will be if you want anything else and interacting with me or asking me questions. 95% of that is going to go through the Patreon. So if you want to join, patreon.com/fantasy advice. The link's in the top right corner. Use code TylerYT50 at checkout to get 50% off your first month. And with that said, I'll move into my next topic. So my next takeaway from recent events is that Dante Thornton, the Raiders' 4th round wide receiver, is having great camp, while Jack Bech, their 2nd round pick, not so much. I'm not going to totally give up on Bech, but I'm a little concerned that Thornton was ahead of him in the pecking order right now. Right now in camp, Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. Myers obviously came as a free agent a couple years ago. Trey Tucker was the 3rd round pick of 2 regimes ago, are currently the top 2 wide receivers. Now, that doesn't concern me. In minicamp, I am not surprised that rookies are behind veterans. That's fine that the veterans are ahead of rookies right now. Doesn't concern me. What does concern me is that Thornton has mixed in with the first team far more than Bech, who has basically only played with the second team. That is concerning. Bech was selected earlier, but Thornton, who was selected 2 rounds later, seems to be ahead of him. That's a concern because they're both rookies. Bech should be ahead, but he's not. And it is kind of surprising to me. Bech had a 4-year college career, so plenty of experience, played at LSU and TCU. And in his final college season, 62 catches, 1,034 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So was Bech my favorite prospect? No. Did I think he would be kind of a plug and play, high floor, low ceiling option kind of is how I saw him? Yeah. So I thought he'd be a little bit more plug and play. Doesn't seem like that's the case. Now that is a little concerning. Now it's June. So what is my takeaway from this? Don't overreact, but do react to this Thornton and Bech news. So what does this mean, right? Well, what is don't overreact, but react mean? Great question. Does it mean that Thornton is more valuable than Bech in Dynasty? No, it does not. I would still rather have Bech. I need to see Thornton actually be ahead of Bech in real games to even consider taking a 4th round wide receiver over a 2nd round. Does it mean that Thornton should be stashed in all dynasty formats? Absolutely. Dante Thornton should not be on your dynasty waiver wire. I might do him a stash video on him. He's definitely a candidate. Should not be on any dynasty waiver wires. It's great to hear that he's doing well. He should be rostered. And then last, does it mean that Bech has lost a bit of value and is a bit riskier than previously? Yes, it does. He should have lost some value. I mean, we cannot ignore things like this. Is it the be all and end all? No, but it does matter. People saying it doesn't matter are wrong. But on Twitter, this and a lot of content, there's no nuance. It's either who cares, dismiss it, or, well, now Dante Thornton is more valuable than Jack Bech. Neither. Those are both ridiculous things to say, but we cannot have any critical thinking. We cannot have any nuance. So I'm encouraging you to use your brain, have a little critical thinking and nuance with this situation. And let's see how it develops from here. Now, my last piece of this one's more news. that Cam Akers signed with the Saints, a 1-year deal with the Saints. The amount was still could not find that, which is a bad sign. But the backfield competition means Akers has a shot to make the team. Surprisingly, Akers, I believe next week turns 26. I think you would have thought he was 30, but no, he's still 25 as of today. Turns 26 next week. Akers, oh, he's the same age as Tyler Shuck. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think of that. Akers' 2024 stats in 17 games, 104 carries, 444 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4.3 yards a carry, and 14 catches for 68 yards. So for the second straight year, Akers was traded to the Vikings in season, but this time he was more effective on the Vikings. He averaged 4.6 yards a carry, took the backup job away from Ty Chandler as a compliment to Aaron Jones. And to be honest, he looked decent. Not great, but decent. He looked like he belonged as a mid to low end backup running back, I would say. That's what Akers is. Now, what does this mean? I think it means Kendre Miller might be cut. So generally, when we look at regime change in the NFL, the players who were not doing well under the previous regime and have other players taken to kind of replace them usually are kind of on the chopping block. We have Alvin Kamara as the obvious starter for the Saints at running back. That's very clear. The Kellen Moore regime drafted Devin Neal. So I would find it hard to believe that they would cut their own draft pick in their first year for someone who's never really played in Kendre Miller. So I would think Devin Neal is going to make the team. So that leaves Akers, Kendre Miller, and actually Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is still here, are competing for 1 or 2 spots. The problem is none of those guys really play good special teams. So it's probably 1 spot. They're probably competing for 1 spot. And the fact that Akers was signed so early in the process, I mean, there hasn't been an injury to anyone or anything. Maybe Kendre Miller is injured. It wouldn't surprise me. He's always injured. So it wouldn't surprise me if Kendre Miller doesn't make the team. To me, when I saw that Akers signed, I moved Kendre Miller significantly down my dynasty rankings, and I did not really move Devin Neal at all. Devin Neal, to me, is going to make the team. So if he's good, he's good. Cam Akers won't matter. If he's bad, it won't matter. But I'm not worried about Devin Neal's roster spot. Kendre Miller is the one who has his roster spot in danger. We'll do some Patreon questions and then wrap up the video. Any veterans you're more comfortable to wait to sell in season if you're getting lowball offers in the offseason? So these are typically players that I have ranked higher in redraft or pretty high in redraft. Davante Adams, Mike Evans, maybe Tyreek Hill potentially would be players kind of on that list. Those older players. Most of the time, I'm fine taking an offer for a veteran. Typically, I find that the best time is in mid to late August, closer to the season when people are thinking about lineups, but you don't have to risk seeing it and then being bad and the veteran losing all their value. So typically, I don't wait until in season. But if the offers are really low, then sure. Then I will wait and hope that they do well. But I named a few there. Is there a specific age where players are at peak value? Typically 25, 26, 27. Is it more specific to the player position? Hard to make a generalization. So it's totally dependent on the position. I mean, quarterbacks, age the best. Obviously, running backs start to get age downgraded around 25, 26. Wide receivers, 27, 28-ish. Tight end, there's just so few tight ends that it's harder to do that because there's just not as many in the pool. So like George Kittle is still valuable, very valuable, even though he's almost 32. So yeah, this is probably a question that any more than just that very quick overview. This is actually a really good question for a Patreon only video. I could do an entire video on just age in Dynasty, but really a second question nails it. It's very specific to the player and position and typically hard to make a generalization about that. What 2 rookie running backs drafted 4th round or later in the NFL draft do you see without injury on the depth chart the most hope for fantasy relevance this year? So you're asking for Bucky Irving. You're asking for Tyrone Tracy, players who there was no injury in front of them, but they just became the starter at some point. So, I mean, the candidates for that are Cam Scadaboo. He could just be the starter. And Baishal Tuden. Again, he could just be the starter at some point. I will say the problem is those players are not undervalued in rookie drafts. Those players are actually way overvalued. So while those are the two most likely, those are not buys for me. Those are hard sells because the likelihood is still way less than 50% that they're relevant in any way. So yeah, it's hard. There isn't really a day 3 like sleeper at a price that I like this year that can do it without an injury. There's not that Bucky Irving from last year, unfortunately. They're all expensive. Of the receivers in the Odunze, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, Emeka Egbuka range, which of them, if any, do you think have a chance of elevating themselves into that near elite tier receiver? So, I mean, this is a very easy answer, right? In that Chris Olave was valued there before. So because he was valued there before, if he's really good again, he could be valued there again. So that's one. And then Rome Odunze was valued there as a prospect. So that's 2. Those are the 2. I mean, those are the 2 more likely. Jordan Addison, I think, has almost 0 chance of being valued in any near elite tier of receiver ever. I don't see how that's possible. Justin Jefferson would have to disappear for that to happen. Zay Flowers, not good enough. He's not good enough and stuck on the Ravens. I see that as near 0 of him being an elite, near elite at near 0. So he could be very good, but yeah, those 2 are close to 0. And then Emeka Egbuka, it's kind of a black box, right? I mean, we don't know what Emeka Egbuka is going to be at NFL level. I like what I'm hearing. So I would say Egbuka has more of a chance of being valued at near elite than Addison or Zay Flowers. We know those guys are not going to be near elite. But the reason I have Emeka Egbuka last on this list is we just have no idea. He might not be good. We don't know. We have not seen him actually play in the NFL, and his prospect profile doesn't say that he's very good. It says he might be good, a nice complementary piece at an NFL level. But if he's more than that, we didn't see it in his college profile. We did not see an elite player there. We saw many elite players come through at Ohio State. He was not one of them. So we'll see. But that's kind of my take on that. I will say I loved Rome Odunze as a prospect. His prospect screams elite. So if you told me that Rome Odunze was valued as a top 10 dynasty wide receiver in a year, I would have no problem believing that was the case. That would not, obviously that's not how I have him ranked because that's not the only thing in the range of outcomes, but that would not surprise me in the least. Now, if you like the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing, and don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. Dynasty content year-round, also redraft content, and start sit during the season. Those things will only occur on the Patreon. That's not going to be on here. And you can get a 50% discount at all tiers using code TylerYT50, which you can find in the top right corner. Patreon.com/fantasyadvice is the link. Every sign up helps support my independent fantasy football content. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.